Hello, everybody. So I'm going to walk you the solution to January 24, 2019, but with the calculator, since I've written the solution out. So hopefully this will be about a 30-minute video for the whole thing. Feel free to ask your questions on the Ed puzzle at the end. So gather all your questions and see if I'll try to answer them either on Ed puzzle or in class. All right, let's begin. So number one, the answer is 2 because any standard deviation with a higher standard deviation will have more variability. For number 2, if you're translating 5 units to the left, it means that in the logarithm world, it's a shift of 5 units to the left. So what you could do is you can use the original. Well, this is base 3. So if you want to be exact, here it is. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it looks like this. You might have to zoom, change your window to -5, 5, -5, and 5. And then over here, let's put in the correct answer where you have log of x plus 5 divided by log of 3. And you can see that the graph shifts 5 units to the left. Let's put a wrong answer. Like if you thought it was -5, because that's typically the hottest wrong answer. It didn't disappear. It's just that my window is not. So I'm going to write zoom standard number 6. You just press zoom and number 6 and it'll go. Yeah, so you could see that the logarithmic function actually shifts 5 units to the right instead of to the left. And then of course, if you forget the rules, you can test this out. Oops, delete. I don't know why it does that, but on your calculator it should be fine. But for some reason, my emulator is weird. Yeah, that means 5 units up. And then of course, this means 5 units down, okay? So of course you can use your calculator to testify this. Number 3, you're going to just write equivalent factors. So by GCF factoring, you get choice 1. And so the second one actually factors are the same thing because the factors are x squared minus 9 and x plus 2. So 1 and 2 are good. Because 1 and 2 is good, I'm looking around, it eliminates all choices except for 4. And then 3 is wrong because it has an x minus 2 and is instead of an x plus 2, right? So then you know that this is out. Actually, once you know that 3 is wrong, then all of them are wrong. So that's why you'll see the marks there. So a geometric sequence, you just have to know that it's AR square, AR cube, and AR to the 4th. So if the first bounce is 121 and the third bounce is 64, we know that 64 is equal to 121 R square. So as a result, R is plus and minus 8 over 11. So it actually has 2 cases, but it doesn't matter because when you do A5 is AR to the 4th. So the end result is the same. So when you put it in the calculator, you're going to get 121, open parentheses. I'm going to do alpha x, 8 divided by 11, raised to the 4th power. And you get about 34 units. Number 5 is a quadratic. Set it equal to 0. Find your discriminant, which is -76. The only one that has an imaginary number is 3 and 2. Okay. And then you substitute it in and you have an output. Now, this is a multiple choice. And I know you can go into the real world, right? And then imaginary. So I'm going to set it to imaginary. And I wonder if I could have just, like if you're running out of time, or you just want to check your answer, either way, I'm I'm going to change my table set to ask. And then I'm going to type in, I'm just going to type in one of the answers. 1 divided by 5 plus 21 divided by 5. Oh, look, they don't equal. So 1 is out. Okay. What happens if I type in, I'm going to try to type in the correct answer this time. I'm just so curious. Does it work? Can you test it out on your calculator? Let me know if it works. I feel like my emulator might not work because it's an emulator. But let me know if your works. I deleted everything. All that work. 1 divided by 5 plus 19 over 5. Okay, I need to press alpha and then I press a dot. It's not working. Alpha and then the dot. It's not working for my emulator, but the I should work. Okay, whatever. Well, it didn't work on my emulator, but I wonder if it worked for you. Anyways, for number 6, this is a strategy that we did in class. So because they want a monthly growth rate, you set M equal to 1.04, but the power, which is 1, represents the 1 year. So that means that 1 year is 12 months, but you're looking for only 1 month. So you take the 12th root of both sides and you get 1.003. And 1.003, I mean, it doesn't matter because if you had done this on the calculator, this to the 12th power is choice 3. Number 7 is choice 1 because the midpoint of 2 lows would be the high. So that's why 1 is correct. Number 2, when the height is 20, I don't know because yeah, it's 20, but I don't know like what part is this 20? Is it this? I don't know where is it on the graph, so it's not enough information. The average depth of the water is a 24-hour period. Okay, but I don't think that's gonna help us to predict the high tide. It's just the average is 24. Okay. It doesn't say anything, it doesn't give us any information about the height, so that's also not enough information. And the second one is also not enough information, but that's actually the difference between the high and the low. Actually, it's not going to predict the midline because even if I had the difference, oh well, it could, because if you divide it by 2, then yeah, I can predict the difference, but we don't want the midline. We want the height, the highest point. The second one, you just had to know to change it to ask. So what's really cool is that I think what I did, yeah, I think this is just really putting it into the calculator, which I know that some of you said it was tedious. And I was like, yeah, I know it's tedious, but if you practice, like you can do this pretty fast. In speed light, minus 96.65 x squared plus 347.7x. What is it asking? Oh, I would change this to ask. I don't think you need to because technically I'm going to change it to auto. Yeah, you don't need to because it's just asking for these numbers. So you can clearly see from 0 to 2 it increases, but then once it goes from 2 to 3, it decreases. So 2 and 3 are out, and then 3 to 4 it also decreases. So that's also out too. Imaginary roots. The table has 2 real roots. The graph has 1 real root because it has an intersection on the x-axis. And the second one, if you solve it, you also get 2 real roots. I mean, anything square equals 32. The only time you're not going to have real roots is number 4 because you have imaginary numbers. X squared equals -16. So any square equal a negative number is going to produce an imaginary solution. So you want to be random. You want to choose an answer that has like the most random group of people, so that it could be authentic. And so the supermarket has a hodgepodge of people. So you're going to get a really random group. And the other three just have a high bias because number one, you're asking about supporting improvements to a high school football game. So of course, if you go to a football game, there's high bias there. If you go to a school fundraiser, well, obviously they're raising money for a fundraiser. So there's going to be bias there. And a high school band concert, well, let's say the high school band concert really wants the football game to improve because they're performing in the football game. That's going to produce high bias, you know? So if you want authentic ideas, number two would be the most well, I don't know if it's authentic, but more random. And number 11, so number 11 is one of those questions where the best strategy, I saw a lot of you just like multiply them out, but what you could have done is GCF it out. Notice that they both share in 2x minus I, because when you factor out, what you're going to be left with is negative 4i, and that's so much easier when you're distributing to them. And it just simplifies to negative 4 minus 8xi. You could use a test function, like if you really want it, because I know a lot of you spend so much time. So I'm already in imaginary world. So I might just put 2x minus I squared minus 2x minus I, and then 2x plus 3i. And then I want to set this equal. Like, is that equivalent to negative 4 minus 8x I? I bet you on your calculator it says 1. If not, let me know. But my emulator says no. So I'm pretty sure that would work. But anyways. Or you know what you could do? Store some number into like x. Yeah. I know what it's asking me, but okay. My computer's broken. Whatever. I'm moving on. The next part is that you need to know the independent test. They ask again in the short response, so that you do need to know this. So the union in independent is just a probability of A times B. So you just multiply P of A and P of B, and 2 is the only one that multiplies to 0.2, 0.8 times 0.25. 13, honestly, I just did the midline. That was the easiest. That was 3. So now I know it's choice 1 or choice 4. Then I knew the amplitude was 2, and then it was choice 1. And then B is just, using it to prove. But a period is pi over 3 because it stops right here. And then you say, okay, well, 2 pi over B is equal to pi over 3. You could do cross product, or you could see the relationship is just times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. The directress, this honestly I would probably sketch it. So I'll go on the paper, sketch it, and say, okay, well, the directress is y equals 7 on top. The focus is at negative 3, 3, and the vertex is negative 3, 5. So then the P is 2, and then it's endgame. You already know it's concave down because the directress is above the focus. So it's either 3 or 4. And you know that the vertex is negative 3, 5. And so this one has 3, 5. That has the correct vertex. So it's obviously choice 3. But if you want to prove it, you just have to memorize a formula. Y equals 1 over 4p times x minus h all squared plus k. And then you substitute the vertex in. 15, the quickest solution is to combine these two fractions, and also to note that the denominator cannot be 0 and negative 1/3. So that means 1 and 2 are out. So it's either 3 or 4. And then you just cross product and you solve, and you're going to get negative 1/3 and then 1/2. So the correct answer is 3. You could also put on your calculator into y1, like put this into y1, this into y2, and then test your function. In this case, it's best to put it into ask. So I'll model the first one in case you want to know. So really quick, technically you could do this on the test. Like, who would know? Nobody would know, right? You don't have to solve it by hand, but honestly, solving it by hand is just more power to you if you get into AP calculus. 1 over x. This is like if you run out of time and just really quickly, like, honestly, for me, I probably use this function. I'm going to change this to ask, and then you can type in 0.5, and look, they both equal, and you type in -2 and it doesn't work. So you know that choice 3 is correct and choice 4 is wrong. This one, you had to know like how to interpret the recursive. So in terms of hours, so it should be 2 and then plus 0.5. So this is correct. If it's minutes, it's 120 and then plus the 30. So this is correct. And then for the explicit, if it's 120 and the slope is 30, then you just subtract 30 so that you get the y-intercept. So the explicit should be 90 plus 30. But if you're doing it in hours, it should be 1.5 plus 0.5 n. So 4 is the one that is not correct. Yes, this would not be appropriate. Okay. Exponential function, anytime you have an exponential function, the inverse is the log of with that base. So it's always log base a of x. But here's a proof if you want. You replace f of x with y, switch x and y, then spiral out of there so that you get log base a of x equals y, and then replace y with f inverse. So this next part, they want to test if you know how to do the rule. So you have to know the formula, and the formula is a equals p times 1 plus r over n to the nt power. And so she's putting half her money. So if you're starting with 20,000, then half the money is 10,000. So it's 10,000 times 1 plus 0.009 divided by 12 raised to the 12th t power, which simplifies to 1.0075 to the 12th t power. And the other one is e to the 0.00 et. So the correct answer is 4. This one, so if you factor this factors completely into x plus 1 squared, and that has a multiplicity at 2 and it bounces. And the only one that bounces is choice 1. Everything else intersect with a multiplicity of 1. This one was a hard one. So what you do is I would have created an equation. So a half-life means that the base is 1/2, and every 1.8 hours mean that it's x over 1.8. And so you're putting 18. Oh, this is incomplete. Sorry. Oops. You know what happened? I did this on the calculator. And so this is, and then I have, that's why I write this out, because I have issues. Like my iPad does that thing. I don't know why it does it. But anyways, when you put it in your calculator, so I'll put in the calculator so you could believe me that this is what it is. Second clear. Let me clear all my screen. 278 times 0.5 to the 18 divided by 1.8 power. Yeah. And then it's approximately 0.271. What else did I wanted to say? I think if you're stuck with this question, oh look, I put in my calculator, and you know this is a exponential regression. Technically, you could put in your calculator, but the equation doesn't best model it, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the denominator. Like the calculator is ab to the x, but you have ab to the x over 1.8. So, but it doesn't matter, because I think if you try this formula, like 0.5 raised to the, and then you typed in 18. Oh no. It didn't work. Never mind. Oh, look, actually, it would say 1. You know what, friends? Scratch that. Don't do the calculator. There's no calculator technique for this. You got to do it by hand. I lied. All right. So now we're at 21. 21, you just break this up into 2 hearts. Here's the left side, and then here's the right side. I'll do it in purple because I didn't use purple yet. So this side. And then you simplify, and yeah, voila. Oh. Okay. And so choice 1 is correct. Choice 2 is correct. And choice 3 is also correct if you combine like terms. So choice 4. 22. What are they asking? The difference between the maximum of P and the minimum of F? Okay. Well, the maximum of P is 5. That was easy. So you just have to calculate the minimum value of F, which is annoying. So you know what a technique that I would do, because it's a multiple choice, I probably would go on the calculator and go into this. This is what I used to do when I was trying to save my time. And I'm like, it's like when you know what you're doing and you just want to save time. I know that the formula is negative alpha x b, which is 6 divided by 2 times the value of a, which is 4. Yeah. And look, it gives you negative 5.25. So you don't have to spend all that time calculating. Like, this is not a short response. So you can just use your calculator to help you find those numbers. And then 5 minus 5.25 equals 10.25, which is choice 4. Moving on. Yeah, you have to know that normal CDF do. So I would draw it out because I need a picture of like what's happening here. So the mean is 68, the standard deviation is 7.2, higher than 1 standard deviation. Well, what is 1 standard deviation? Oh, that's 75.2. How many are expected to be enrolled? Well, you would do that probability in yellow times the 750. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna go to our calculator, and you have to, like, I don't know how else you're gonna calculate this. Number 2, especially since they don't give you a reference. I think that's kind of crazy that they don't give it to you. Back in the day, they did. I don't know why they don't. And then what is this? I noticed this, that this X is over here. Is I don't know why it's there. You see that, friends? So I'm gonna white it out. I don't know what that is, and I don't know why it's there, but I'm just gonna erase it. Give me 1 second. Feel like this got graffitified or something. So this is 68. Okay. All right. 68 comma 7.2. And then you just times it by 750. Yep. You don't have to show all this work, friends, for multiple choice. Like, quick and easy. Yeah, the last one, I wouldn't even bother solving this by hand. I would just put on the calculator, 1/1 minus x squared. And then on your calculator, you can go to second catalog, which is on 0. And then your ABS is there. But for some reason, my emulator does not let me press enter. So I have to do the crazy way, which is alpha y equals, and then go to function, and then do that. And then I have an add. Okay. Well, anyways, it should work on your calculator, but for some reason, this does it. And then it's 3x minus 2, and then plus 5. But I have to write a negative in front because it's negative. And then you just graph it, and then you just count 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, you just do it graphically. That's pretty much the concept here. All right, so for the short response, so this one is justify. What they want to show is that you're proving that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So the nth root is the denominator of the powers. And then if you have the same base, you subtract the powers. And then finally, that's it. Voila, you're done. Moving on to the next one. So this one you have to do in pencil because it's a sketch. You can use an M-ish shape or a W shape. Just make sure you have arrows, make sure it's curvy, and it passes the vertical line test. What that means, friends, is like nobody should be drawing this. I mean this. Yeah, like don't, like, this is not, that's not okay, because it's, first of all, it's too sharp. Polynomials, all polynomials functions are very curvy, and they pass a vertical line test. So you shouldn't have one that's very straight. Okay, so this one we did, and I don't remember if you remember the Pascal's triangle to find the coefficients of binomial expansions. You could use a Pascal's triangle. if you remember the lesson, or you can use combinatorics if you remember the lesson. If not, that's okay. You can do it the old-fashioned way of multiplying the two binomials out and get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, and then multiplying this by area model. You still get to the same position. And then your final conclusion, you have to answer the question. Even so, it says justify algebraically. That what that means is you need to show your work. They want to see this. And then you have to answer the question, does it? And you say, no, it doesn't work. Extra, you would make me very happy if you said that AB is equal to 0, 0. So it technically, it's not always going to work, but there are some cases that works when both of them are 0 or when A is equal to negative B. Okay, that's when it does work, but otherwise, it's just not going to work. Okay, the other thing to know is that it's a probability. So you need to know conditional probability, and the conditional probability formula is the intersection divided by P of B. And so the intersection is equal to this product if you manipulate it. So all you had to do was take the 0.85 and times it by 0.8, and that gives you 0.68. So this is the formula we're looking. If you're lost and you've no idea what to do, honestly, when I get into that position, I like to write out my legends. Like, okay, well, what do I know from the problem? I know that P of O is equal to 0.8 and P of F given O is equal to 0.85, and figure out what I have to do. Most likely it's either you have to multiply them or you have to divide them. So for the most part. Number 29. So you need a geometric series formula, which is the sum here, and they give it to you in the reference sheet. So a couple of things. You need to know that the first one is 15, and then it's 15 times 1.03 and so forth. So the 10th time it's 1.03 to the 9th power. So I just want to give you like a phasal thing of like what's happening here. You don't actually need to know all of this. You just needed to know the first term and the common ratio, and that's it. And 10. So that when you substitute into the formula, you get about 171.958. So this is actually a really quick formula. So I wrote the months out because if you just came to this country, you should know that January is 1st. Like, if you don't know them now, know them now. Like, practice, like put them on a next card. Well, August is 8, and November is 11. So when you substitute it in, you have to show me this calculation. You don't have to show me everything, but at least show like this. And then substitute, like, the average is B11 minus B8 over 11 minus 8. Like, in calculus, like, this is what we do. We don't do slope anymore, like y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Like, that's algebra 1. You graduated from that. So we're gonna use this formula, and you should get about negative 10.1 degrees Fahrenheit per 1 month. And explains the context. You have to say those key words. On average, the temperature decreases because it's negative approximately 10.1 degree Fahrenheit per month between August and November. Like, you have to say that because the average rate of change changes from month to month. Average rate of change between September and November is not the same. So make sure to mention that. The next one, 31. 31, this point is T, and it's in quadrant 2. So the hypotenuse is 1 and the height is 4/7, and this is T. So by the Pythagorean theorem, you're going to get T is square root of 33/7. However, T is negative because it's in the second quadrant, and that's a negative T value. So yeah. All students take calculus. All right, this is pretty much straightforward. Vertical asymptote is set the argument equal to 0, so you have a vertical asymptote at 3. The argument is greater than 0 is the domain of the logarithmic function. So since you know that it has to be greater than 3, you do 4, 5, 7. Honestly, like, when you go into your calculator, and this is how you're going to save time. You're going to go on your calculator, you're going to go y equals, I'm just going to clear these calculator functions. So log of x minus 3, close it, divided by log of 2. I'm using the change of base formula. I'm not going to do ask. I think I'm going to do auto. And yeah, you just scroll through. Oh, It's a table set function. Let me clear this. Let's do 0 table set. Okay, there we go. So you just scroll through and you just copy the ones that have like integer values. Don't obviously. Oh shoot, there's a intercept of 4. Did I mess up? Oh, I did mess up. I forgot to press +1. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so 4 is 1, 5 is 2, 7 is 3, and 11 is 4. Yep. And that's a wrap. Moving on, do this in pencil. Make sure to have arrows. Okay. Oh, this monstrous thing. Oh my. Okay, so this is the review session that I did today, and I'm so happy that I saw so many of you came, even though it was like a last minute change. But so here are the 7 steps. Isolate the constant, eliminate one variable, and create equation 4 and 5. Scan for opposite numbers. Then eliminate another variable so that you can solve for the variable. Find the LCM of the coefficients. And then substitute the value into either 4 or 5. And then substitute either, once you have 2 variables, then you can substitute into 1, 2, or 3, and then solve, and then write your answer in numerical order. You have to submit your answer in order pair. Please put parentheses. I don't want to deduct points because you can put parentheses. These are like silly reasons to lose points. So let's get started. So like subtract a so that you can isolate the constant. Then I noticed that all the a's are like this is positive and this is negative. So add 1 and 3 together, and then 2 and 3 together so that you get 4 and 5. And then in 4 and 5, I scanned the coefficients, and I could do the LCM, which the LCM of 8 and 3 is 24, and this is 40. But I like to have endings with zeros because those are a little easier. So I multiply the first equation by 4 and the second one by -5 so that we can have like opposite numbers. And the reason why I did -5 is because that way I remember to distribute the negatives to every single term. And so when you combine like terms and you solve, you get c is equal to 4. Substitute it into either 4 or 5. And I substituted into 5 because they were smaller numbers. And I got b is equal to 0.5. And then you substitute these 2 values into either 1, 2, or 3. And just by a quick glance, equation 2 had like positive numbers and smaller numbers. So I just chose 2 and I got a equals -3. And then you can put into your calculator and check. Now, can you just use it and get full credit? I'm not sure. In the past, that is correct, but I will say that a lot of students lose so many points, and it's because, or like during the moment, they freak out because they always forget that -1 on A. So if you practice enough and you remember it, then fine. But I don't know moving forward that you're gonna get full credit, because the big idea was to do it by elimination method. But the matrix is a good way to check, because I will say, like, I've done this sometimes when I do the algebra by hand. I always mess up on the calculation because it's so computational heavy. So what you could do is there's another thing, and this is a shout out to Swan. So I actually have them already calculated here. So again, you're going to put them into a 3x3 because it's 3 rows, 3 columns. And then you're going to do the same thing and put it into 2 matrix B, which is a 3x1. And then when you go second quit, you have to clear your screen first. Then you go to second matrix 1, X inverse, and then second matrix 2. And then the calculator tells you, voila. But did you know that you can put them all in one? So this is what Swan taught me. And after this. I wish you guys could fast forward this.
Travel Town. Play now.
Okay, well, I don't want to. All right, anyways. So Swan was like, well, why don't you put the constant together? So we have 3x4. I was like, okay. And then he went to go to matrix and do math and did row echelon, which is so quick. B of matrix 3. Now, here's the catcher. Here's the kicker. I don't know that you're gonna get full credit for this because it has not, I've never seen it, so I don't know. So what I would say to you is use a matrix as a check. It shouldn't replace your work. Your work should showcase that you know how to do elimination method. Okay. So that's that. 34 is synthetic division. You get a remainder of negative 18. So this thing is negative x cubed plus 4 minus 18 over x plus 2. And so it says, is it a factor? No, it's not a factor because the remainder is negative 18, not 0. Just keep it short, keep it simple, move on. All right, so now statistics questions. Look at this question. All right, so this is a 4-pointer question. What do they want you to do? First of all, they wanted you to do the margin of error. So the margin of error is 2 times the standard deviation. Now here's the kicker. You just had to do double of the standard deviation, which is this value that was on the chart, because it says explain using the interval containing from the data base, and it says based on the simulations result. So that's why we're going to use this result. Now I know what you're all saying. Well, Miss Lee, well, why can't we use the one that you taught us? 29.11 divided by the square root of 500. That is a great question. I don't think you would go wrong there. But because it says based on the commuter results, they just want you to double this integration and subtract it. I know it's kind of stupid, right? It is so stupid. I actually did something else. And I got, oh, was it 1,000? Maybe I got something closer to that because it was 1,000. Yeah. I got, because then n would be 1,000. Yeah. Oh wait, but then that's, wait, did I do? Oh, I did it wrong. Hold on. It's 20.718 divided by the square root of 500 because it's n. You wouldn't go wrong there, right? Because that number is actually really close to the simulated value. As long as you're doubling it and then you're subtracting it, and you're telling, well, your interval will have something around this much. And so 30 is within the interval. So you're going to say, based on the simulation results, the claim that the commuter listened to the station on average 30 minutes is plausible because 30 minutes is within the middle 95% of the data. So that's that. You know what, if you did what we did in class, which is calculate the standard deviation and then doubled it and then subtracted from the mean, I think that should be okay too, because they're actually relatively close to each other. 36, isolate the radicals, square it, solve for x, set it equal to 0, factor by grouping. You get x equals -1 and x equals 25/4. Please make sure to check that your answer works. I would love for you to showcase your check, because I always did as a student. But of course you can definitely put it in your calculator. Do 3 square root of x minus 2x and then -5, and then in your I would change this to ask because this is now wait, is that 1? Oh, I read it 1 doesn't work, but 25 divided by 4 will work. Yeah, it works. The last question, finally, we're there. This question was so monstrous. I was like, what is going on here? Well, first you need to know the formula. A equals p times 1 plus r over n times raised to the nt power. And then they want you to write the equation for 1 point. Okay, easy breezy. That's like 318,000 times 1.07 to the t power. And then they wanted you to plot this. And I was like, oh boy, look at those numbers. Those are like not pretty numbers. I honestly just went on the calculator and just grabbed those numbers. But you know what? I spent so much time that if I were you during the Regents, I would probably do every 5, right? Or every couple of numbers. I just did it by 5 because that was easier. And then I just plot it and connect the points and call it a day. Okay, don't waste your time on like the little details because it's not important. It's not worth your time. Because you only have 3 hours, right? And after you plot those lines, so other things is like, I also counted the tick marks. So the bottom was, 1 to 20. Make sure your graph fits the whole page, like the whole full grid. It shouldn't be squished up together. And label your tick marks. Make sure they're equally spaced out. And that in this graph, no arrows whatsoever, because they're asking from 0 to 20. And then they just want you to solve it. So you set it equal to $1 million. You use log, like they just want to see, like, can you use logs to solve this? And get about 17 years. And then I thought this was a stupid question. Of course it's about 1 million, because if you look at the graph, it's about 1 million. So, and that's what you say. My graph of A of t confirms my answer, because at x equals 17, the y value is approximately $1 million. Thus, based on the graph, Tony will save $1 million in 17 years. I mean, what else do they want you to say? And that's it. That's the whole test, people. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and I will try my best to answer them. Happy studying. Bye.